Hey, welcome to today's lesson. This lesson will take you from being a complete beginner to someone that kind of understands how SketchUp works and the tools within it. I'll walk you through all the steps required to build a really cool desk, complete with drawers, and then we end up putting a Mac on it and a plant. So I'll walk you through all those steps from start to finish, and also we're going to apply textures to the desk. This is a pretty concise lesson, so it's perfect for beginners, and if you're a fast learner, I reckon this is probably the video for you. I've also attached a texture image in the resources part of this lesson, and that is essentially for us to create a texture towards the end of the video that will become apparent. So throughout this lesson, if there's any parts of it that you miss or you just haven't understood, I really encourage you to just re-watch the parts and take a second look at if any part seems a bit unclear or a bit confusing whilst you're working in SketchUp. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Please leave me any feedback, that'd be really appreciated. I've got a longer form lesson on the fundamentals of SketchUp, so if this was a bit too quick for you, maybe check that one out. It's a bit more in depth and I go into a lot more things actually. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Let's begin now and I'll see you at the end of the lesson. When you first open up SketchUp, you're going to get a window that looks like this. It might have a different version to what I'm using. And all we want to do first is come down to this little arrow that says template. And here we select essentially, our template. So we've got feet and inches, meters, again feet and inches, and different styles. So the one I'm going to be using today is architectural design and in millimeters. So for the sake of this tutorial, I recommend that you use this so you can follow along easily. So once you select that, just click Start Using SketchUp and it should open up. So before we get started, I just want to show you the final outcome that we should achieve at the end of today's lesson. If everything goes well, you should have a desk that looks like this with some drawers that we can move in and out of the desk using our arrow keys, like so. But this is what we're looking to achieve by the end of the lesson. So if everything goes well, you should end up with something like this. So let's get on with the lesson now. I hope you enjoy it and good luck. So when your SketchUp loads up, you should get something that looks like this. You should have a little figurine here. We've got a man. Sometimes you might get different versions of this. So initially what I want to just quickly show you are the main navigation tools within SketchUp. So on your mouse, if you use your scroll wheel, you'll see that we can zoom in. And then if you click down on that scroll wheel, you'll see that we can orbit the camera. And so these are the basic navigation tools within SketchUp, and we will be using that throughout this lesson. Up here you have your tools, and again I could go through these one by one, but as you see throughout the lesson, as we start building, they will kind of become clear and it will make sense to you. We have a tray here, that's the default tray. This is where you choose all your materials and lots of different stuff like that, but we'll leave that there for now. And so let's begin building. So starting off using our orbit tool that we just learned and our scroll wheel, we're going to begin by building the legs of our desk even. First off, we should just delete this man. So if you just click on him and then hit the delete key, he should disappear. And we are going to be working from the origin. This is called the origin within SketchUp. So this is a great place to start building any project essentially, because it just gives you a nice reference point. And so first things first, we're going to click on our rectangle tool and we're going to come to our origin. So your SketchUp should lock to the origin like so. And then we're going to click once. So you just click once, you don't have to hold on to it. And then what we're going to do is make sure it's on a blue axis, so you can see that my the rectangle that I'm drawing is actually blue at the moment, which is where we want our square to be. And as you can see in the bottom right, you can see the dimensions of this square being shown in the bottom right of our screen. So we want this to be a 40mm by 40mm. So we're going to actually just type in 40 and then a comma, and then 40 again, and then hit enter. And that will build us a 40 by 40mm square. So now we want to actually just use this tool here called the push pull tool, and we're going to click on that. and then we're going to see the face becomes highlighted when we hover over it. So we're going to click on that once, and then again you don't need to hold it, you just click on it and then you can move your mouse up and down. And we want this height to be 840. So again, our dimensions are in the bottom right hand corner. So if we just type in 840 and hit enter, that will give us a 840mm height. So now we'll go back to the select tool, so the arrows tool, and what we want to do now is make this a component. Because this is a table leg, this is going to be a component that we might want to change in the future. So we're going to do that by, if you triple click it, it should highlight all the faces, and then what you're going to do is right click and select make component. This will be your component name. All you have to do is just click create here, and so there we have one of our legs as a component. So we have one leg, but we need 4 of those for our desk. So what we're going to do is we are going to copy this leg. So in order to do that, make sure you're on the select tool, click on the leg, and if we press the M key on your keyboard, that should open up the move tool for you. And what we want to do is grab this leg at the point where we built it from, so on the origin. So I'm going to click on the leg, and as you can see we can now move it. But what you want to do is then press Control, and that will make a copy of the leg. And again, you can see it's locking onto axes, and we want to make sure we're on the green axis this time. And again, we've got distance in the bottom right corner. You can see how far I'm moving it. So for this leg, we want to move it by 760mm. So I'm just going to type that in, hit enter, and it's moved our leg into the position we want. Now we're going to do that again, except this time we're going to select both of those. So make sure you've got the select tool selected again. Click one of your legs, hold down the shift key on your keyboard, click the second leg, hit M on your keyboard to get the move tool, grab from the origin, press Control, and then this time we want to stay on the red axis, so make sure you're on the red axis, and we are going to do it by 1560mm and hit enter like that. So there we have our 4 legs. So we've got our 4 legs. Now I want us to add in that structure that goes from left to right. So this is going to be on either side. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is actually grab the line tool. So it's the little pencil tool, and we're going to come into this point on this leg here, on this corner. Make sure it locks to the origin of the component like so, and we're going to just click once, and as you can see we're now drawing a line, but we want to stay on this existing line of our leg, so make sure it stays on there. And what we're going to type in is 145 and hit enter. So that's drawn us a line. Next we're going to grab the rectangle tool again, but instead of grabbing it we can just press R on our keyboard. So like so, we're now using the rectangle tool, and we want to create a box from this point to this corner. So we're going to click on this end point again, and as you can see it's on this face, which is important, and then we're going to type in 40, 40 and then hit enter. So that's made us a nice square there. Then we're going to grab the select tool again, and what we're going to do is we're going to double click this square that we just created, and as you can see all the lines should be highlighted including the face. And then you're going to press Ctrl G on your keyboard, and what that does is actually groups the square, so it's its own entity, which is very important within SketchUp. You just always want to make sure you're grouping stuff or making it into components, because otherwise you can kind of mess up your geometry. They become linked. So once that's grouped, we're going to double click on it. So now we're within the group, and you can tell you're in a group because everything goes a bit darker, goes shaded, and the piece that you're working on will become highlighted essentially. And again we're going to grab the push pull tool, or our keyboard shortcut for that is P, and what we're going to do is click on the face once and then move it to this point here. So again, SketchUp likes to lock onto things, so we can see that it's going to lock onto this edge, which is exactly what we want. We don't want this edge because it's too far. This is the edge, so we're going to click on that, and that's created our post that we need within our legs. And if you hit escape, actually if you hit the select, go back to the select tool and click out of it, you'll see that we're out. And so from this point we're going to move it. So we're going to click on our shape we want to move, hit the M key on our keyboard, grab the point we want to move it from, so this end point, and we're going to move it along to this side, press Control on the keyboard. And as you can see, it's not necessarily locking to the red axis as well as I'd hoped. So what you can do is, whilst you're moving your object, if you click on the arrow keys, you'll see that it locks to the different axes. So if I press the up arrow, it goes to the blue axis. If I press left, it goes onto the green axis. And if I press right, you can see we're locking onto the red axis, which is what we want. So now I'm going to line up to this point here. Once I'm locked onto the red axis, and click, and there you have it. We have our side sidebar in place. So now we're moving on to the body of the desk, so the section which our drawers will fit into. So in order to do that, I'm going to again grab the pencil tool or hit L on your keyboard as a shortcut, and I'm going to come to this top point here, and I'm going to draw a line down, again locking on to this line here, and I'm going to type 145 and hit enter. So these pencil lines that I use, they act as essentially guides for me. Some people like to use a tape measure, but I think pencils are just easier to use and less confusing. Then we're going to grab the select tool again, just to come out of that. So we've got a line there. And what we now want to do is grab the rectangle tool. So we're going to hit R on the keyboard. I'm going to come from this top point here, and we're going to go to the end point of that line that we just drew. So as you can see, we're on the green axis and it's locking onto the end point nicely. So we're going to click again, and that should create this face. So again, grab the select tool. We're going to double click this square, Control G to group it, so it's now its own entity. And then we're going to come into it by double clicking on the group, and then we're going to hit P for the push pull tool again, and we're going to push pull it. Again, you don't need to hold down the mouse button, you just click once and then drag. And we're going to drag to this endpoint here. So we know that this is where we want our desk body to end, so we're going to grab it and drag it to there, and then click again. So now we want to extend these sides out so they fit to the edge of these legs, but obviously they don't go over the legs. So to do that, we're going to draw a couple of lines. So hit L on the keyboard, grab the line tool, and we're going to come from this point here, so it locks to this end point. We're going to draw a line down to that point, and we're going to do the same on this side, draw a line down, and then we're going to grab the push pull tool by pressing P on the keyboard, and we're going to push pull that face that we just created essentially, and we're going to make it come to the end of this the end of our legs, so here, click, and there we have it. Now we're going to do the same on the other side. So hit L, grab the line tool, draw a line from this intersection to this intersection. Again, SketchUp should lock onto it nicely for you, which is always handy. Down to there. Hit P on the keyboard. The face is highlighted. We're going to click once, and then we want to come to this point here. So we click again, and there we have it. There's the first part of our body on our desk. So now we're going to add the cutouts for our drawers. So in order to do that, we're going to come into this group again. So we're going to double click, make sure we're in the group. And what we're going to do is grab the line tool, and we're basically going to draw a line down the middle of this front face. So if we run across the edge, you'll see that SketchUp locks onto the midpoint. That's what we want to do. So we're going to click once, and we're going to make sure we're on the blue axis this time. And you can see that SketchUp automatically does that for us. And if you're not, again, we can use the arrow keys to make sure we're on the correct axis. So left and right will show you the green and red ones, and we want to make sure we're on the blue. So if you press up, up on the keyboard, it should lock you to the blue axis. And we're going to come down to the bottom point here, and then we're going to get the select tool, and you'll be able to see that we've now created two separate faces. Before it was one face, but now it's two. So now we're going to use a new tool. It's called the offset tool. It's this one here. So if you click on that, it should come up, and if you click on, so if you haven't got any faces selected like this, so you click on the offset tool, you'll see that when I go onto a face, it highlights it. So that's basically saying which face it's going to work on. So we want to do it on these two faces here. So we're going to click once, and as you can see, it's trying to offset it. But we want to offset inside, and we want to do it by a distance of 15 millimeters. So once you've got it clicked, you type 15 and hit enter, and it should offset inside. Just make sure when you click, you're not outside outside the square, because then if you click 15 and offset it whilst your mouse is outside it, will actually offset outwards, and we want it to offset inwards. So again, on this one, I've clicked once, and I'm going to type in 15 again, hit enter, and that's offsetted our faces nicely. So now we need to actually cut into this shape, so we're going to grab the push pull tool. So yeah, we could press P there, or just select it from the menu, and we're going to highlight this face, and we're going to drag it back. So we know our total length is 800, so we're going to leave a bit of a gap from there. So we're probably just going to move it back 750. So once it's selected, it's free to move. Just make sure you're going in the direction you want to be going. So we want to be cutting in, not extending out. So we're going in the right direction, and we just type in 750 and hit enter. And then what's good about that is once you've on the push pull tool, you can then double click, and it will just repeat the process that you just completed. So as long as no face is selected, if you just double click, it will repeat our 750 pushback that we wanted. Now if we come out of the group again, just by using the select tool and clicking outside, you'll see that we now have our slots for our drawers. So now we're going to add our drawers into our desk. To do that, we're going to use the rectangle tool. So I'm going to press R on my keyboard, and what I'm going to do is essentially just trace this outline. So I click on this top left corner, and I come down to this bottom right corner, and it should lock on, and we want to make sure again we're on the green axis. So I click once and then click again, and I create a rectangle. Then I'm going to grab the select tool, and again I'm going to double click it to make sure the face and all the lines are selected, and I'm going to group that by pressing Ctrl G, which makes it easy to use, and we don't mess up any other parts of the model. So now we're going to go into this group by double clicking. So we're into this face group, and we are going to use the push pull tool again. So press P on the keyboard, and it will grab it like that, and then we click once on this face, and when it's selected we can drag wherever we need to be, but obviously we want to come to this back wall, which was 750 deep, and you can see when I lock onto here, the measurement in the bottom right hand corner is 750, which is correct. So what we can do is we can actually just click this back face, and that will make it 750 deep. So then if we come out of the group by clicking out of it, and if we use the M on our keyboard, which is the move tool, we can click on a point and move our drawer out of the desk itself, so then we can actually work on the details of it. So once it's out, we are going to go into the group again, and we're going to use that offset tool. So click offset, and we're going to offset by 15 mil, hit enter, and you should have something that looks like this. Then we're going to push pull again to create the void within the drawer. So we'll click once on the face, and we know the full length of that is 115 mil. So if we want 15 mil on the bottom, we're going to come down 100 mil. So if I type 100, hit enter, and there we have the main body of our drawer. Next we're going to add the detail on the front of it. So to add our handle for the drawers, what we're going to do is we're going to double click into the group on the drawer, and then we're going to grab the rectangle tool, so by pressing R, and what I'm going to do is just draw anywhere on this face. We're going to draw a rectangle with the dimensions 200 by 20 and hit enter. So there we have our rectangle on this face. Now we're going to grab the move tool. Actually no, sorry, we're going to grab the select tool, double click to select this face that we just have drawn, and we're going to then grab the move tool, so by pressing M on the keyboard or clicking up here. So we're going to lock onto the midpoint, which SketchUp again does nicely for us. So we're going to click there, click once. Now we are now moving this shape, and what we want to do is move it to this the midpoint of the draw body itself. So if you come along this edge, you'll see that SketchUp will lock onto the midpoint for us. So we're going to click there. Now we have it in place. Next we're going to push pull, so P on the keyboard, and we're going to push pull that to the end of that part of the draw. So that was 15 mil. So if you make a mistake in SketchUp, you can just press Ctrl Z and it will undo the last thing that you did. So that's, just be aware of that. If you make any mistakes throughout this lesson, you can just Ctrl Z. So then we're going to click there. It's offset to that back edge and it's disappeared for us, which is nice. So if we come out of the group, we can now move our draw back into position. So using the move tool, grabbing a point, and we can lock it to that point there. And because we want to make a copy of that, we can again click on a point we want to move from, press Ctrl, and then we can move it to this edge. So we know where our draw sits. They're both in the correct place now. Yeah, we can move them out and about along the green axis quite easily, like so. So I might just leave this here for this for the rest of the lesson, which is perfect. So now we've got our drawers. We want to work on the worktop. I'm actually going to move this back into the desk. So I'm just going to do that by move, and then I hit the arrow key, and we can come to this point here. So to do this, the worktop, we're going to grab our rectangle tool. So hit R on the keyboard, and then we're basically just going to draw a rectangle from this one point to this end point. So I've clicked once there and then clicked once there, and that's created a rectangle. So if I grab the select tool, double click, and again we're going to group it. Make sure all the lines are selected and the face, group, and we've grouped it like that. So now we want to push pull our worktop, and I think we're going to do it at 20 mil. So we're going to grab our push pull tool by pressing P, and we're going to come up 20 mil, type in 20 and hit enter, like so. So now we have our worktop, and our final model, the worktop, actually has a rounded edge, and it actually extends out a bit. So we're going to do that now. So go back into the group, and we are going to use the push pull tool again, and we are going to push pull out by a amount of 55 millimeters. So hit 55 and press enter. So that's push pulled that. Now if there's no other face selected, we can just replicate that process by just double clicking on the faces that we want to do. So we know we want to bring that out by 55 mil. We want to bring this out by 55 mil, and we want to bring the rear out by 55 mil. So by double clicking on those other faces, it just repeats the process we did initially. So that gives us the outline of our tabletop. So I'm now going to create the radiuses on our worktop. So they are the curved edges on either side of this worktop. So to do that, I'm going to go into this top group, the worktop group that we made, and then first off I'm going to offset this top face by 55 mil. And what I'm essentially going to do is draw some circles on all four of the corners, and from there we'll be able to push pull the edge and create a rounded corner. So to do that, we need the circle tool. So you can either click up here or you can press C on your keyboard, and I'm going to go from these endpoints and What I'm going to do is make sure I'm on the red axis at all times, just to make sure that they touch correctly, because sometimes if the circle is on the green axis it doesn't touch and it won't close the face. So make sure I'm on the red axis, and I'm going to drag to this point here. There's one. Do the same for this side, and then same on these final corners. Again, just clicking once and clicking again. Now I'm going to grab the I'm going to make sure no face is selected, so I just came out of the group there by clicking out and then coming back in. And I'm going to grab the push portal. And what we're going to do is just take off these corners. So we're going to click there and click down. And again, because we just completed that process, we can replicate that just by double clicking on the face we want to do it to. Double click there, and double click there. Great. So now we want to just get rid of these lines. So to do that, we're going to press E on the keyboard, which is the eraser tool, and we're just going to erase these lines that we don't need on the worktop surface. Again, if you make any mistakes, just press Ctrl Z and you'll go back a step, which is very useful if you're making mistakes and you're a beginner, which everyone does. There. So now I'm going to click the select tool, click away, come out of the group, and we have our worktop. So now that we have our desk made, we want to add some materials and colours to the legs, the drawers and the worktop. So to do that, we're going to use our default tray. Yours may already be out. If that's the case, then that's fine. And I'm just going to pin it here by clicking this little pin thing. So these are all the things that you can use within your tray, and we want materials. But if materials is not showing up in your tray, just go to Window, Default Tray, and make sure materials is ticked. So I want to use this, so I'm going to click down here, and essentially what materials is a collection of materials that you can use within SketchUp to add to your model. They're not necessarily the best textures or materials, but there's a good variety here and enough to get you started. So what I'm going to use first is colors. So if we go to colors here, click on that, and I need to color the legs and the body of the table, and I'm going to use the color M05. So I'm going to click on that, and a bucket should come up. And what you can do then is just click on each item that you want to change the color of, and it will change the color for us, like so. Now, because we made these legs components, everything that we do within the group, within the component of this leg, will happen to all of the legs. So say if I wanted these all to be pink, they can turn pink like that. And because it's a component, that means any change that we make to this will affect all of the legs within the model. So we can Ctrl Z that, because we don't want pink legs, we want full grey legs. So yeah, that is the paint on the legs and the body. And to edit that, if we grab the bucket tool again, or press B on your keyboard, and if we hit the Alt key, we have this little color pick thing. If we then click on that color, it will bring our color here, and we can edit it. So here we can change the color of that color. You may have RGB, you may have some of these other options, but if you go to color wheel, you'll see that we have full adjustment of that color. So we can make it, lighter, darker, whatever we need. And then if you want to reset that color, you can just click here like so. That's our legs. We'll get into the worktop and drawers next. So now you should have a completed table. And what we're going to do now is add some of the materials to make it look cool. So your default tray might actually already be popped out. And what we can do here is we can actually pin it to the right hand side. You could also move it around into your window, but sometimes I like it pinned, sometimes I don't. It just depends really, depends how you work. So initially we want to paint our legs that kind of dark charcoal color. So to do that, we're going to go to the materials tab. Yours may already be open. You may have this instructor thing open by default, but that's fine. You can just close them using the little arrows. So first we want to go to materials, and what you can see is mine might look a little bit different to yours, but at the moment I've got colors open, so we can actually get rid of that. So these tabs SketchUp essentially has a bunch of pre-set materials, and what a material is it can be just like a JPEG image, so like this, or it can be a color. So if we go to colors, that's what we're going to be using for our legs. So what I'm going to do is come down to this grey here, the M07. I'm going to click on that, and our paint bucket should come out. And what you can do with that is we can just click on an object like so, and if it's grouped, it will automatically cover that whole object in the color that we want. We want our legs to be this color. We do it like that, and if we want the body to be the same color, we just click on like that. And because we made these legs a component, if we double click on them and actually come into the object, you can see that if I wanted to change the color, say to pink, it will change the color for all of the legs that we created, and that's because it's a component. So that's why you use components, is because you then won't have to change each item individually. So I'm going to go back in though, and I'm going to make sure it's fully selected by clicking, and I'm going to grab this M07 and click on that, and then we can click out of our group. So if you like that color but you want to change it a little bit, if you go to edit, you can see you might have a color wheel, or you might have RGB. I like to use the color wheel, it's quite easy to use. So I think that's a bit dark, so I'm actually going to lighten it up a little, ever so slightly, and maybe add a hint of blue. So if I just move this color wheel, you can see that it changes, well, the color that we've painted our legs in. So I kind of want a bluey charcoal, something like that. So that's perfect. So we'll now add the wood texture. So now to create our wood texture, we need to use a JPEG image. So to do this, we're going to click this little box here that says create material. And then what we're going to do is click use texture image, or click this little file button. And I've already got one saved that I'm going to use. I click on that, click open, click OK, and it should come up, and all I need to do is then click on the surfaces that I want to apply this texture to, so our two drawers and our worktop. And as you can see, the scale of the texture is far too small, so I'm then going to go edit, and I'm going to change this to 800, and then click off of that, and there you have it. We have our wood texture on the worktop and the drawers. So now I'm going to show you how we get the iMac and the plant on top of our desk. So we're actually going to use the 3D warehouse. So if you go to Window 3D Warehouse, this is essentially a place where people upload 3D models. So anything you kind of need will probably be here. So I'm just going to type in iMac, hit enter, and then I'm going to use this one. You probably will need to create an account with Trimble, so do that, and then you'll be able to access the 3D warehouse. It's a really good tool for 3D modeling, because you know, sometimes you just don't have time to make certain things like a car or an iMac. So I'm going to place it on that surface, and we've got the move tool selected. I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees like so, and then back it into position about there. And then I'm just going to do the same for the plant, and we will have a plant on our table as well. So to get my plant in there, I just typed in plant, and I downloaded one into my model and just put it in position, and actually scaled it down because it was a bit large. And to do that, you just press the S tool the S key in SketchUp, and then you can drag and scale items correctly. So yeah, that's kind of the full model. To turn on that cool shadowy effect, if you go to your default tray and show and hide shadows, you'll get that cool effect that I showed at the start. And then yes, you can move your drawers in and out by using the move tool, like so. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you managed to keep up. If you didn't, then obviously go back and rewatch little parts if you missed anything. But yeah, I will send it back to me in the real world, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out my other lessons. Give me a follow on Skillshare, that would really help me out. Leave a review, and I'll see you in the next video.